Hello, it's GamerPlox here, and this is my review of the Surface Pro 3. So, I've been using the Surface Pro 3 as my primary device for about 1 to 2 months. Literally, I've used it to replace my laptop, so that's kind of what they advertise it to do at the moment. So, hopefully this review will kind of tell you, if it can actually do that. And if it also works as a tablet as well. Now, first of all, I think the first thing I probably noticed was that this is a really good looking device. It's got a perfectly sized screen, it's not too small, it's really thin, it's also really light as well, so it's really great for people who are travelling. I'm a student, so it's really great for me to take onto campus, and wherever I want to go I can take it with me all the time, and it literally, I wouldn't even know that I had it in my bag because it's just so light. The type cover actually does come separate. You have to pay about an extra £100 for that, which is a bit of a rip-off if you ask me. But I guess it does give people the option, if you just want to use it as a tablet, then the option's there. And I suppose if you have a USB keyboard, you can always plug that into the USB slot that is on the side of the device if you're in need of a keyboard. But the type cover really is a great addition. It makes perfect sense to get that as well. I really like the type cover. It's backlit, it feels quality. It just seems weird that they didn't really put it with the device, although I can understand why. I've been using this mainly as my laptop, basically. It performs really well as a laptop. So to sell it as a tablet, I think possibly doesn't show it off in its best light, if you know what I mean. I think they would be better off selling it with a keyboard or some kind of keyboard, as I think they did with previous versions of the Surface. And then, that make clear that this does function as a laptop, because I think that's where it really shines. And on the tablet side of things, as I might briefly talk about later, it doesn't really do so well. So, as I just mentioned, it's really portable and lightweight, which is, I think, one of the main perks of this device. It's really great. And not only that, but because you can detach the keyboard, the form factor, you can change it. It's very flexible, and it depends on what you're doing. You can adjust the form factor to that, and if you're lying in bed and you're just watching a film, you can get rid of the keyboard. If you want to highlight a document, you can turn the screen portrait, flip the type cover around the back if you want, and hold it like a clipboard or piece of paper. It's actually really, really useful to have that flexibility there, which I think is actually done really well. One of the worries I had was a kickstand at the back, because obviously it's kind of top heavy, all the weight of the device is in the screen and not the keyboard, and there's no hinge, so I was worried that it would be difficult to work with, and that in some positions it might be difficult. But actually I think I've only had one occasion where I wanted to kind of tilt the screen downwards. I was lying in bed and I couldn't do that, but you just kind of get used to that. There are other ways around it, and it just is a bit of a learning curve really, and I wouldn't say it is an issue. I thought it would be more of an issue than it actually is, and I think even talking about it makes it sound like more of an issue than it is, and it's really not. In fact, the kickstand works really well. Also, the touchscreen controls make it really, really easy to navigate around Windows 8, and that was something that was definitely missing in my old laptop. I just had an old Windows laptop. It wasn't great specs, it was definitely much worse than this now, but Windows 8 doesn't really shine on a device that doesn't have a touchscreen, and the touchscreen on this is really good. It comes with a stylus as well, so you can draw and annotate documents as well, and that is included, whereas the keyboard isn't, which is a bit odd really, I think, to include a stylus and not a keyboard. But anyway, it's great that that's included. But yeah, the touchscreen controls become really easy, and I find myself on other people's laptops now trying to use the touchscreen controls, and then I realise they don't even have a touchscreen, which is quite embarrassing, but it's great. It just shows how smooth the experience is. So other than that, really, I've had no trouble performance-wise. It's all working very swift, even 2 months down the line with lots of things installed. It's really got great performance, definitely. I've got the i5 version, and I don't think I don't really need any more than that. I just have a couple of games, and mainly use it for word processing and all my uni work and certain programs and things like that, and it all runs perfectly well. It's really, really great. Also, the display is just really gorgeous. It is a massive display. I can't remember the exact specs. I probably should if this was going to be a good review, but the resolution is really, really, really good. Something like 2000 by something. And the icons and text can appear quite small, but there's a setting that you can change which increases the size of those things and makes the display, more readable, if you'd like it to be. And the webcam is, I can't remember. I want to say it's like 2 megapixels on the front or something, and something on the back as well. I can't remember. This is a really, really bad review. I should have learnt my specs, but I'll have to add them in the comments below. But yeah, the webcams are great quality, and it's got all the features you could want. The USB port. I think it's got some kind of micro HDMI port, which I haven't actually used because I don't have the adapter, but I'm sure once I've got that adapter it'll be fine. It's just like a normal HDMI, and that's obviously to save size or something. Briefly talking about the type cover keyboard itself, which I know doesn't come with the device, but I think it's worth talking about because I think if you're going to get the Surface Pro, you're going to want to have the type cover because it really makes it a laptop, and that is what I think it shines as. So yeah, talking about the keyboard, it's got a touch, a touchpad, I think that's the word for it, and left click and right click on each side, and that works great. That's perfectly, good quality, works well. And then of course you can use the touchscreen if you want to as well, but usually the touchpad is completely perfect for navigating around. I think I mentioned before, the keyboard's even backlit, so if it's late at night and you're in the dark in bed or something and you're trying to add those last words to your essay or something, that is really, really great to have. And it just gives it a more premium feel, to be honest. Backlit keyboards just look, they just look great. One issue that I would say I have had is that when I am, doing running some kind of program, usually like a game, for quite a while, the fans do kick in to cool it down, and the back right hand side of the device does get quite warm, possibly even a little bit hot, which I was worried about, but I think it's just something that I've had to get used to, it being such a thin device. My friend has advised me that it's perfectly fine for devices to get warm as long as they just don't shut down completely, which mine hasn't. So I think it's just moving from this big chunky laptop that I had before to this super thin device. You're going to be closer to the internal workings of the device, and in that you're going to see the heat there. You're going to be able to feel the heat there when it's running. But other than that, the performance remains great, and the fans are just a little bit noisy, but not too noisy. They're just some medium. They're bearable, definitely. And with my headphones in, I can't even hear them. So is there anything else that I wanted to talk about in particular? Returning to the type cover again. I'm talking a lot about the type cover, but I feel like it's quite important. An issue I have with that is that the function keys, the F1 to F9, you have to toggle between them and these icons that adjust the brightness and things like that. You have to toggle between them by holding FN and caps lock, and that will toggle between whether it's using the icons or the F7, for example. And that is a little annoying if you're trying to play a game or something, because games on PC often make use of those keys. But that's only a very small gripe. Also, the Windows Store has very limited apps. Nothing like the apps that you get on iOS or anything like that. But I think the key thing is that because this is running, full on Windows 8, you can install any program you like onto it. So it doesn't really matter that you don't have the apps there. And there are a couple of apps that you may find useful and work really well. So that's just a bonus, really, in my opinion. But it would be nice to have more apps, even more apps if people would actually develop more things for this, because the touchscreen functionality is really great, and obviously the touchscreen operations and things like that don't usually work on a normal program that you're installing. Obviously tapping things and stuff like that to click, that works fine, but as you know, like the swipe gestures and things like that won't usually work on a normal program, whereas an app would make full use of that, and I think that'd be a great experience. Obviously the Twitter app's there and Facebook's there, those work fine, they're great, and you can get notifications that pop up and things like that. That's there. It's got the basics with regards to the store, it's just not as developed, and I think that is why it in essence can't really function fully as a tablet. I mean, as of form factor wise, it's there, it's perfect, possibly a bit big for what I would want as a tablet, but it is there, and you can definitely use that for basic tasks, highlighting documents, things like that. But if you were going out to buy an actual tablet itself, and that's what you wanted, I probably would not go straight to the Surface Pro 3. If you want a dedicated tablet, buy a dedicated tablet, but really, I think the Surface Pro 3 is actually a really, really, really great laptop that has tablet functionalities if you need it. And for my personal uses, I don't think I actually need a tablet now, because I have this, so it fulfills that need for me. But if you're going out to get a tablet on its own, you might want to look at more specific tablets. I've kind of waffled on about that now, but hopefully I've got the point across. I think it's probably the most important thing to stress about the Surface Pro 3 is that it is a brilliant laptop. I think the way they're marketing it is a bit unclear as to whether it is a laptop or a tablet. With the type cover, it is the best laptop I've ever had. That's basically the end of that. That's basically the conclusion here that I've come to. And I've just really haven't had any problems at all. Touch wood so far, 2 months in. I think 2 months in is quite a reasonable time. I think I would have found more niggles than that by now, but I really, really haven't. It's a great device, and I have to say I recommend it. So that's that really. Quite a brief review, I know. Just going through a couple of these strong points and negatives that I've found briefly. If I come across anything else, then I'll be sure to let you know. That's about it for the Surface Pro 3. It's a great laptop. It's a decent tablet, and I recommend it. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you guys soon.